Welcome back, guys. I hope you've had a really good Christmas and I hope you have an awesome new year. But until then, it's time to get into these reviews, so let's continue. I haven't said this in a while, but for any of you guys that are just joining us, we are on a mission to review every single issue of Ultimate Spider-Man from issue 1 all the way up to issue 133 and beyond. Now, I personally have every single issue of Ultimate Spider-Man in my comic book collection, and so I know these Ultimate Spider-Man comics quite well. And so for the fact that we're reviewing every single issue, it is more or less a very long journey. But it's also really fun and it's awesome seeing you guys react to it and seeing what your comments are on the series. And so far, all of you guys are loving this series. It's going to be so depressing when we finish this. So as I've already said, welcome back to these videos. Now guys, I just want to let you know early on in this video that I have been having some problems with my camera. Like, it keeps freezing on me, and I actually do think I'm going to have to send it off to be fixed or something. Hopefully it doesn't break whilst I'm recording this. I'm trying to do it. We're going to have to hurry up just in case it does. So yeah, right now we're reviewing Ultimate Spider-Man issue 76, and in the previous issue, towards the end at least, we saw Harry Osborn transforming into this crazy thing which we actually don't know what it is yet, and I'm not going to reveal it until we see it, especially when it's an ultimate version of a character as well. It's always pretty interesting when you have like that differentiation from other universes such as the 616 universe. I think one of the best things about this saga is pretty much just because of Harry Osborn. It's really developing into his character. He's been away for many issues and he's come back, and now we're actually learning a bit more about him, and you're knowing him on a more personal level, seeing what he's actually dealing with in his life. And you can clearly tell from the previous issue that it's not a very easy life. Like, it's a little bit complicated, especially between the relationship with him and his father at least. Anyway, I do have to remember that I do have to keep this quite short because I don't want my camera to freeze, because when it does freeze, it erases all of this video footage. So yeah, without any further ado guys, let's get into this review. I am so looking forward to seeing what Peter's reaction is going to be again when he sees what Harry Osborn is turning into. So let's do it. Opening the first page of issue 76 of Ultimate Spider-Man, we are greeted with the very first glimpse of Harry Osborn turning into Hobgoblin. And I remember reading this for the very first time and just being captivated with just what Harry Osborn looks like now. He looks truly sinister, and especially because his character doesn't really come across as a sinister character, it just comes across as a troubled one. It's actually quite scary to see that Harry Osborn looks so much like his father when his father becomes the Green Goblin. And I just love it how Spider-Man has no idea of what to do. He's literally just in utter shock and awe. And I think the best thing about Spider-Man being there and actually being the one to deal with this instead of S.H.I.E.L.D. or the Ultimates or something like that is that Spider-Man is actually Harry Osborn's friend. So he wants to help Harry Osborn, he wants to understand how this has happened to him. And what's so good is that this comic even manages to throw a little bit of humour into the mix when Spider-Man says that he used to do Harry's homework for him and that he wasn't smart enough to be able to do this to himself. I thought that was just like a little bit of a dig at Harry Osborn, but it was also like an unintentional one. Now I think if you guys take a step back and actually look at the issue as a whole as well, once you've read through the entire issue, you can very much see that this fight between Harry Osborn and Spider-Man is more of a personal fight. Like, it doesn't feel really big scale, it just feels like a little bit of a conflict between these two characters and that's it. Almost like these two characters are in their own little bubble and most of the focus is on them instead of being on, I don't know, the environment or everybody else in the city. It's just the destruction is not minimalized, like there's actually quite a lot of destruction going on, but the reader is so captivated by this interaction between Spider-Man and the Hobgoblin that you don't really notice any of the outside noise, you don't really notice any of the outside damage. It's just really awesome, and you know that the comic is a really good comic when it can do that to the reader. One of the things that you'll notice as well is that most of the dialogue from this comic is coming from within Spider-Man's head. There's a lot of thought going on and a lot of Spider-Man just trying to figure out what has done this to Harry Osborn. Of course, as a caring friend. Now we also got that panel with everyone sat in school and Peter Parker and Mary Jane not being there. Now that's indicating that Mary Jane is obviously somewhere else, suggesting that she's on the way to Spider-Man and Hobgoblin fighting in the city, and that's just one of the most really annoying things with Mary Jane recently. As I've said in the previous issue review and the previous issue review before that, Mary Jane has just become like a really annoying character within this saga. Like, she's not annoying any other time, but for some reason in this saga, Brian Michael Bendis just wrote her as some annoying character that doesn't listen to Peter Parker, doesn't really do what anybody says, and just ends up turning up in the most dangerous situations for no reason. Now, as many of you would know from my previous issue reviews on Ultimate Spider-Man, I have a very strong opinion over Mary Jane because I love her as a character so much. So when I see her acting this way and when I see her being written in this direction of becoming an annoying character, it really gets to me. Like, for the past few issues, she has literally become the damsel in distress all the time, and it's really annoying. Now, it does kind of feel like that Brian Michael Bendis is writing her into this story just because we kind of have to see Mary Jane in these comics because obviously she's Peter Parker's girlfriend and she's one of the main characters, and it seems like this is kind of an excuse in order to get Mary Jane into this saga because realistically this saga is about the relationship between Peter Parker and Harry Osborn, and of course Harry Osborn dealing with the Goblin and the Hobgoblin and all that nonsense with his father Norman Osborn, so there isn't really any space for Mary Jane to squeeze in there. So Brian Michael Bendis' heart is in the right place. Like, sure, he wants to push Mary Jane into these stories just because he knows we love the character, but in my personal opinion, she is a little bit too, like, dumb for this situation. Like, for some reason, it just seems really out of character for her, so I think I would have rather had Mary Jane not in this saga completely just because she doesn't have much of a place here between Harry Osborn and Spider-Man at the minute, and I think I would have preferred it just to pick up with her later on after this saga is finished or something. I feel like it would have been so much better. I do have to admit though that when Spider-Man was telling Mary Jane to get out of here and he revealed to her that that giant monster was in fact Harry Osborn, I did get goosebumps down my arms. It made me feel like some massive reveal had just happened. And Mary Jane realised that Harry Osborn was this giant monster. It was just one of those revealing moments, and it really felt like a dangerous situation and, you know, kind of one of those oh my god moments. It was just so awesome, and I think this is where the peak of the art style takes place in this comic, when Spider-Man actually jumps back off the building into Hobgoblin and begins to lay the smack down on him with all of these close-up fist panels and all of this fire in Hobgoblin's face and just Spider-Man kind of freaking out and going crazy. And even with Spider-Man's cracked lenses, it just looks so good, and the art style Mark Bagley has done awesome on this entire series, but specifically when it's these up-front close shots, it's really good. And of course, coming to the end, we've got Harry Osborn saying that he wants Spider-Man to kill him. Harry Osborn must be in a really bad place for him to say that, and he knows it. And just like always, Ultimate Spider-Man always leaves us on a cliffhanger, so we'll have to wait until the next issue to find out what happens next. Alright, so that issue was awesome, and I was very liking the fact that Peter was actually trying to get through to Harry. He was refusing to fight him, and most of all, did you see how crazy Harry Osborn looked when he first turned into Hobgoblin? Yes, that is Hobgoblin. And it's really interesting to see the ultimate versions of different goblins. I mean, the ultimate version of Norman Osborn was obviously the ultimate goblin that looked like a monster. Then we've got the ultimate version of Hobgoblin that also looks like an orange version of the ultimate Green Goblin. It's so awesome to see these different characters sort of come into this universe, and just the different variations of each character is just always so interesting, but I think it's the best when it comes down to the goblins. I also really liked the rage that was coming off Harry Osborn as well. When he first turned into Hobgoblin, it was really scary, and you could see that Spider-Man just did not know what the heck was going on. I wouldn't say negatives, but I think one of the most infuriating things about this issue, or at least for the past few issues, is Mary Jane. She's so annoying in this saga specifically because she just doesn't listen to Peter whatsoever. Honestly, it's like Lois Lane in Batman v Superman. She's there for no reason, you know, like she keeps turning up in certain places. I think Batman v Superman is actually a pretty good movie. Like, it's a fun movie to watch. But honestly, in that movie, Lois Lane is just really annoying, and that's how I see Mary Jane. And usually Mary Jane isn't like that, so it's really strange just to see her like do that. It's so weird. You could also see that in the comic towards the end, that guy was still talking to Harry Osborn in his head. He was still like a figment of Harry Osborn's imagination. He was still there commanding Harry Osborn on what to do, telling him to do certain things, telling him to kill Peter Parker. And at the very end, when we got Harry Osborn screaming, "Kill me," obviously I'm not going to reveal what happens, but it is quite a nerve-touching sort of thing when Harry Osborn actually wants to die rather than being in that situation, if you know what I mean. Like, he knows that he's that dangerous. It's almost like he's become the Hulk, and it's just so awesome to see that Harry Osborn will sacrifice himself, and he knows that he's in that bad of a situation that he would rather ever die. It's really depressing and really sad, but it's really moving as well, and it's really emotional, especially when you attach yourself to these characters such as Spider-Man and Harry Osborn. It's a good issue. I did absolutely love the action in this comic as well, just the way the art style was throwing all of this action towards us as the reader. But I think one of the best parts about the issue, in my opinion, was when Spider-Man was telling Mary Jane to go away and she said, "Where's Harry?" and Peter said, "That's Harry." Like, that was one of those moments where you just kind of get like goosebumps along your arms. It was so awesome. Overall, I'd probably give this issue like a 9 out of 10. It was really interesting, as I've already said, and the art style, just with all the action and the fire, and it was a really enclosed sort of like personal thing between Harry Osborn and Spider-Man. Like, there wasn't much like bother for like the city being destroyed or anything like that. It was just like this conflict between these two characters. But that is the end of this review, guys. Let me know what you thought in the comment section below. Hopefully my camera continues to work and it doesn't keep breaking all the time. I think this is just one of those things where I have to keep recording like every 15 minutes or something. So yeah, if you want to stay up to date on the comics and of course my camera technicalities and like whether it's working or not or anything else, follow me on Twitter and make sure you follow me on Instagram as well, because I have just announced the winner for Civil War. It could be you. Go check it out. The link is in the description. And by the way, guys, I do upload pictures and updates to my Instagram story to also keep you guys updated as well. So if you want to follow me on Instagram, you can see my story on there. Thank you very much for watching, guys. I love doing this review and I hope you subscribe to the YouTube channel for more, and I'll see you next time.